All right, let's talk about something that's literally running behind the scenes of every single app you use: data. Specifically, how that data gets sent back and forth over an API. Today, we're putting two heavyweights in the ring. In one corner, we have the reigning champion, JSON, and in the other, the super fast challenger you might not know as well, Protobuf.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with why JSON is king, then introduce its powerful challenger, Protobuf. We'll get into their core philosophies, what I'm calling contract versus chaos. Then comes the really fun part, the performance numbers. We'll also cover the major trade-offs and wrap it all up by helping you figure out which one makes sense for you.
First up, let's talk about the format that basically runs the entire modern web. If you're a developer, you know it, you live it, you've probably written some today. There's a very good reason for its total and utter dominance.
I mean, seriously, just think about it for a second. If you're interacting with pretty much any web API out there, the odds are overwhelmingly high that it's speaking JSON. It's the undisputed standard. So, what's the secret sauce? How did it get to be so popular?
Well, JSON's winning formula is all about one thing: simplicity. It's easy for us humans to actually read, which, makes debugging a whole lot less painful. It's a natural fit for JavaScript, which runs the web. It's super flexible, letting you move fast, and of course, there's a gigantic ecosystem of tools and libraries for it.
But, and there's always a but, isn't there? That amazing flexibility can be a bit of a double-edged sword. When you can just add fields whenever you want, it can lead to some real chaos down the line. Undocumented changes, ambiguous data, and bugs that are a huge headache to track down.
Okay, so if JSON's flexibility can be a problem, what's the alternative? Well, it's time to meet the challenger. This format has been around for a very long time, quietly powering some of the absolute biggest systems on the planet. Let's talk about protocol buffers, or as everyone calls it, Protobuf.
And when I say a long time, I mean it. Protobuf was born inside Google way back in 2001. That's practically ancient in tech years. It's been battle-tested for over 2 decades inside their massive infrastructure. And yet, for all that, it's remained kinda under the radar for a lot of public API development. So what gives?
Well, one of the biggest reasons is a really common misunderstanding. A lot of developers think you have to use Protobuf with gRPC, which is Google's fancy high-performance communication framework. But that's just not true. You can absolutely use Protobuf as your data format with a completely standard, plain old HTTP API, the same way you use JSON. And this gets us to the fundamental difference in how they think. Where JSON offers you that flexibility that can sometimes lead to chaos, Protobuf forces you to sign a strict contract up front, which prevents those errors from ever even happening. And this difference is huge. Think about all the annoying bugs you've chased. A field is missing, a number gets sent as a string, or there's a simple typo in a key. We've all been there. With Protobuf, that entire class of runtime errors just becomes impossible. They can't happen, period. The heart of this whole system is the .proto file. You can think of it like a blueprint or a non-negotiable contract for your data. For every single field, you have to define its type, like string or int32. You give it a unique number, and you give it a name. This file becomes the single source of truth for everyone: the client, the server, everyone.
And the workflow is actually really elegant. You write that proto contract, then you run a simple tool that automatically generates code for you in whatever language you're using: TypeScript, Go, Dart, you name it. Then you just use those generated classes and boom, you get perfect, type-safe data consistency without writing a single line of manual parsing or validation code.
Okay, a strict contract for reliability is great, but now we get to the part that gets people really, really excited. Let's talk about pure, raw speed and efficiency. What happens when we send the exact same piece of data in both formats?
So here's where the rubber meets the road. Look at this. On the left, a pretty standard user object in JSON clocks in at 78 bytes. On the right, the exact same information, serialized with Protobuf, is just 23 bytes. That's not a typo. We're sending identical data using a tiny fraction of the space. And when you see it visually like this, the difference is just staggering. The JSON payload is so much bigger. Now imagine this difference multiplied by millions or billions of API calls. It's a massive deal, especially for mobile apps or high-traffic services.
To put a simple number on it, in this case, the Protobuf payload is roughly 3 times smaller. And because it's a simple binary format, it's also way faster for computers to process, both to create and to read.
This isn't magic, by the way. It's just smart engineering. Protobuf gets rid of all the extra stuff. It doesn't send long text keys like email. It just sends the number 3.
It throws out all the white space and curly braces. It even has clever ways to encode numbers. And all of this translates directly to a better user experience. Less bandwidth used and faster load times.
Okay, but let's be fair. If Protobuf is this amazing, why isn't it just used everywhere? Well, we can't ignore the single biggest advantage that JSON still holds. To be balanced, we have to talk about the trade-off you're making for all that amazing performance.
And here it is. It's so simple, but so important. A human being can look at that JSON and know exactly what it is. You see the key name, you see the value Alice. But the raw Protobuf message, without the instruction manual, without that .proto file to decode it, it's basically meaningless. It's just data.
And this has real-world consequences, right? It means debugging is just harder. You can't just console.log a Protobuf message and see what's inside. You need specialized tools, and you always have to have that schema file handy to make sense of the data. You can't just pop open your browser's network tab and see what's going on as easily.
Okay, so we've seen the good and the bad of both sides. JSON is flexible and readable, Protobuf is strict and blazing fast. So, when it comes down to it, how on earth do you choose? This table really sums up the whole trade-off, doesn't it? If you're optimizing for pure performance or rock-solid type safety, Protobuf is the clear winner, no contest. But if your top priority is human readability and the flexibility to change things quickly, JSON still has the crown. So here's the bottom line. If you're building things where speed and reliability are absolutely critical, think high-performance microservices, mobile apps on spotty networks, or complex systems where data integrity is non-negotiable, then the benefits of Protobuf are incredibly compelling. It's the choice you make when robustness and performance matter more than anything else. And this leaves us with one final, big-picture question. JSON became the default in a different era of the web. As our apps get more complex and users expect everything to be instantaneous, maybe it's time we start to question our defaults. Is the initial ease of JSON worth the long-term cost in performance and reliability? That's something we're thinking about for your next project.